going to be tricky though for Spot Up. I've got to say, they had 2-2-10 halves in the games with NV, and Dignitas is certainly going to try and bring it to them on a map that isn't really that good for Dignitas either, so this could still go either way, but it's looking more towards Dig than anything.
Well, we are going to jump into Ascent to see if Spot Up can turn things around, or if it's going to be Dignitas moving on as the victor. Go ahead and take it away.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to this one, getting into another map of Ascent. It's normally the map where you see a lot more sort of brawly Valorant, aggressive plays, especially from this defensive side, like sort of taking fights around the map. Dig are actually going to get a little bit of aggression onto short. They've spotted the alarm bot, so they're going to try and clear that out before they push, but there's the paranoia. It's almost used still. There's a little bit of a warning sign because the players are so close, but it's actually going to be super to go down fairly early on. And wow, it completely gone is their A-site defense. The rotation has come in from Sam, but it's every single kill going the way of Spot Up. And with only 2 players of the defense remaining, can't see them bringing this one back.
Spike planted.
They're expecting a lot of people to come through tree. dephh is there, and he's able to get free, even getting some damage done with the Nano Swarm. It made it super close, but Spot Up at least starting off with the pistol round. Dignitas on the back foot pretty much immediately, but that was a nice execute and a bit of a dicey retake there on the pistol.
Yeah, I'm surprised, especially with their setup, with the paranoia, with everything they had ready for that sort of push. They really didn't get too much done, so great openers coming in as well. Kanpeki being able to find 2 quick kills, and that's basically what you're looking for on your Jett, especially on the attacking side. You're either a distraction for someone to get an opener, or you are getting the openers yourself, so it's great to see him get off to a strong start. And as you sort of mentioned earlier, like, they got nothing done versus MB. So even if this is the game where they fall a little bit flat or they fall out of the tournament, they want to at least have a good showing here. Otherwise, well, there's going to be people doubting them. And also, I believe they're one of the teams that's still looking to get picked up, right?
It's pretty much them and slight bogeyman, I'd assume. And you want to have a good look at least. And on a round like this, it's key to even win it. It might seem straightforward, but we saw BBG drop their lines a little bit against TSM. Granted, very different teams. But Spot Up in their game against MB lost a lot of, even at 5 versus 2, they lost even on guns. So there is a bit of an awkward look. The site is open for them to execute onto. And this retake is going to be rather lethargic for Dignitas, who really don't look like they want to go for it.
Spike planted.
Yeah, they might just look to try and hold them in. Like, they only have pistols into this round, so even just taking away weaponry from Spot Up, making things costly, reducing the economy that they have, that would look pretty good for them. And in all honesty, there's some weaponry in there for Spot Up that they're not going to want to lose. And already, the timing could work out for Oderus as well. Rustun will eventually kill off one of his teammates, but that flank is still coming. There's a player looking to try and pincer in. Sam holding off one, and there you go. That's a free Guardian. That's something they could just easily take into the next round, and they're still holding these players into the spike. They're looking to try and kill as many people as humanly possible. Another couple drop. This is so costly for Spot Up, and in fact, everybody goes down for both sides. Bear in mind, for Dignitas, that is some pistols that they've lost, whereas for Spot Up, that's a hell of a lot of weaponry.
It's expensive. Kanpeki is still going to be able to grab the operator. He has been attack operating a little bit, at least, in the game against Envy. Like I mentioned, attacking on Ascent against them, they had a 2 for 10 half. They've matched that already against Dignitas. They're hoping to do a little bit more damage. Everybody is on half armor with this buy. The advantage is certainly laying onto Dignitas at this point, but they're still yet to get off the board.
One down.
Well, it's all well and good doing a lot of damage, but if you don't convert the rounds behind it, it becomes somewhat worthless, and they have lost the opening pick. Definitely not the start they were looking for. dephh. He's had 2 very different maps. One was fantastic, the other was very quiet, but it seems like it's Super instead to come back with a triple kill, leaving Bunny all alone. Normally we talk about rounds like this being more of a bonus, but this is no bonus, Ryan. This is a lot of their money spent, invested, expended into this round, and He's got to try and win himself a 1v3, and in this sort of situation with the spike down and held off by dark cover, I don't see a way back into this.
Still got to try. Checking some of these angles, but Dignitas are smart. They've changed up their position just a little bit. There's still 30 seconds left. The fault line is going to be hitting onto the Reyna. But Sam was just pretty much baiting for his teammate. Supa getting 4. Wasn't even a retake scenario. They just held the door from spot up, and that money is completely ruined from them. And it all came from Dignitas just making that second round super awkward for spot up. Their money's good. They still have the operator. They should be able to tie up both these rounds.
Well, yeah, this is basically nothing being invested now for spot up as well. Just a few pistols here and there. A little bit of armor purchased, but the light kind, and
Cover
all
going
you
out.
can really hope for is maybe something to come off the back of this Blade Storm. You really need to do some damage here, and he does manage to find one. Pick up a rifle as well. Kind of hope that he drops that over to a teammate, but at the moment there's not really anybody to come back and retrieve it. He'll drop it to the side, and you can see that push forward to get that gun back into play. They've made this one look pretty competitive. As said, there was very little invested into this round. Just some light armor purchased for the Blade Storm to go alongside. dephh with only a stinger, likely to try and lead the charge here. Get in the faces of his opponent, and there rolls in the thunder. It's a nice shot though coming out from Kanpeki. He's found another with the Blade Storm, and they're being held back here, unable to push, and Rustun in such a good position. He's going to hear them running away. He may even look to try and take some of the weaponry.
It was nice positioning from Rustun to be alert. It really got into Dignitas' head because they stacked the majority of them towards having a trade, but they backed off. Yet again, they're doing damage though, giving up this round to spot up. But it is just going to be Bunny holding onto a gun. It's a Phantom, and that was off the back of a really good round from Kanpeki with the Blade Storm. He's going to have the operator yet again, at least a little bit more armor for these attackers, as well as a lockdown from Rustun. But Dignitas, even on these rounds that they've been losing, they've been doing damage, and they have a few ultimates to use themselves. They're still well within it to keep it close.
Yeah, the only worry for me is that retake position, like, considering there wasn't that much in that round for spot up, I'm a bit disappointed that they didn't get more done. So hopefully that's not going to be a running theme, because retakes on the A site can be pretty tough, but at the same time, they didn't even really get to start it. They got held off before they even got into the site. So a lockdown available. Spot up still. In fact, yeah, you're right, both sides. But how will it be utilized in this position? And Dig do have a couple of extra ults to go with it.
Look at all of these bodies though on Cat now. It just takes a really nice swing from Sam to just push around, and he can get multiple kills. Tucker's in that position, most likely to keep an eye on it. That's a nice recon bolt that can get the kill onto Bunny, and the smoke makes it easy for Sam to push out of it. He is going to have a little bit of pressure coming in from Tucker. Just teleported back because right now Dig have a really good hold on it. The B site is completely open. They are expecting an aggressive lockdown play from the side of Spotter, but they've already taken a lot of space seemingly for free when it comes to A Cubby. It's just whether they expect to run into Oderus, who's going to be holding on to the operator.
30 seconds left.
This time it seems they're going to gamble an extra player actually into the site itself. Supa, though, goes down, and in fact, so does Oderus, the man on the site. Just as before, things start to fall a little bit flat when it comes to this A-site defense, and an after-plant situation ensues. As you mentioned at the beginning, there were 2 lockdowns available. One has already been utilized, and in fact, it will hold people out a little bit longer. Dignitas falling flat, that's for sure, as MAKKA is now the only one remaining. A 1 versus 2 situation. Needs to clear both players from underneath the boundary. It doesn't seem like he has much of a chance whatsoever. He gets one, but Rustun is there, and Spot Up continue. 4-1 in the lead. I believe already doing a fair bit better than what we saw in their previous match. And while Dig, they have money again, but at this point, they need to start getting some rounds.
They have 5 ultimates, though, so they're sitting pretty. A lot of stuff has been used on the attack. We saw the Blade Storm before, a round or 2 ago. lockdown, obviously, from Rustun just then. Whereas a Hunter's Fury on attack, it seems that they're going to be wanting to hit A. And it's curious to see when we have this, like, ultimate meta going on, where they're typically used at least, how they're going to position themselves. Because it's looking like an A hit. The Hunter's Fury could come across Cubby, goes through tree, goes through garden, cuts right across that A supply line. Right now, it's just taking pot shots with shock darts to try and clear some of these angles, because Dignitas are holding super close on Cubby here, on the right of Figment.
Once again, we're going to see some aggression coming in from Dig. I think they need to, if anything. Like, some of their holds, especially on the A site, have been, well, weak, to say the least, even with advantageous positions. So that the fact that they're looking to try and take a little bit more control in this scenario, I think is a good thing. Oderus as well was one of the more impressive players when it came to their Haven earlier in the day. Seems like there's some information had. In fact, you can see that from the shadows used back into the site, and Oderus is going to be completely caught out. That seems to be the case in a fair few of these rounds, and again, it's an advantage going to spot up as they take site.
Spike planted.
Dignitas have that lockdown. They even bring out the Empress. They're fully going for it. Big dedications can easily come out, and this is going to make it difficult for Spot Up to get out, but the Hunter's Fury is good. It's just going to clear this ultimate. It doesn't bother them at all. It's checkmate for them, and that's a really nice play to use that ultimate to counter them out. Zamno has made a lot of progression. The Alpha does spot his positioning, but if he gets one kill, he can get out of there. It's just a 2v2 now. dephh just wants to do a bit more damage. It's keeping Spot Up in check. They're still fighting for these engagements. Right all the way into Boathouse. Figment can at least get one in the smoke. dephh is just going to make sure that they all die in the same process, but Figment, that's a key pick, because it stops this spike from deploying, and it makes sure that they keep their guns.
5-1 up on the attacking side as well, like, especially from what we've seen in North America. A lot of the teams are getting the majority of their rounds on the defense, so this is starting to become a real worry now for Dignitas, a team that we've sort of raved about when it came to coming close versus the side of Sentinels, who have for quite a while been considered the #1 team within North America. A slip up in the open qualifier, or maybe they were having some fun, who knows. But versus Dig, it was very close, and at the moment, Spot Up have looked the better side by quite a margin, in fact. Even going into a lot of these rounds with a man disadvantage and coming out on top, and that needs to change.
Previous results, Dignitas on this map, losing 13-4 to 100 Thieves, beating 2D, Team 2D 13-7, and going to overtime in the round of 64 to Premier Esports. It's not really the best of looks for this fresh new roster. It's the first real showing. Premier?
No,
There's
you said it right. I just mean that they're a premium product, that they must be good.
Hopefully see more of them, but the point is that Dignitas don't look that good on this map. They've not had decent results. And this is Spot Up's map pick. This is the fight that they want to take. It's going to plan, and dephh just wanted to face a little bit more. Didn't have really that much to work with, but the A site is very much open for business. These have been nice executes from Spot Up. And I like the way that they're contesting certain areas of the map, just to make sure that Dignitas can't necessarily just take them for free.
Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade out.
It's worth noting that this round definitely doesn't have the same level of investment as we've seen over the last few for Dignitas. They've finally been forced into an eco position, so they don't have much to lose. Good nano swarm, but in fact, it's actually Oderus through the wood with a ghost. Somehow, this is probably the best retake attempt we've seen so far from them. And, it's not going too badly up until the point where they try and find the players in a crossfire. And one by one, they fall. It's left on to Sam. A little bit quiet so far. We know that he can have these explosive moments, but in this point, he's just trying to hold a few players into the site. It doesn't work. It's a 6th now for Spot Up, as they have at least equaled their opponents in this first half, and I dare say I think they're probably going to win this half.
It's just a measure on how much at this point. It's going to be another full buy from both sides. The Hunter's Fury is available on defense from MAKKA. We haven't really seen too much out of these defensive ultimates, to be honest, at this point. But with their comp, there's not really too much to rely on. There's no showstopper. There's no rolling thunder. It's just really the lockdown and the Hunter's Fury. This is going to be a very quick face. It's a nice fault line. Just put Oderus off kill, but he's right out in the open. He's going to get punished by Rustun. Yet again, these aggressive faces from Dignitas are just falling apart. At least Sam could do some damage. He gets 2, but Bunny is going to trade him out. It's a 3 versus 2, which to be honest is good for Dignitas, because Spot Up just read them like a book and they punished it hard. But they got hit hard themselves.
dephh is giving this a damn good go. A great nanoswarm into the corner. It's gonna clear out the spot that Tucker was in, and he's fallen as well. It's left all onto one. Kanpeki, he's got his knives out, ready to brawl. Finds the first kill with ease, and it's left into that 1v1 situation to try and close another round, to give them a 7th, the spike ticking in his favor, but he doesn't quite land them! He survives far longer than expected, but it will be super to give them a 2nd round. I'm a little bit disappointed, if anything, for Spot Up that they don't manage to take that one through after what was such a good start. And I have to say I'm a little bit disappointed with how that round started for Dignitas, because I don't know about you, Ryan, but I feel like they kind of left Oderus out to dry. Like, there were 3 players there, he gets stunned, and they go, good luck.
Gonna be problems like that for both sides. You're looking at Spot Up, certainly when they were 5-1 up, or 6-1 up even. They're going, where was this team against Envy? That was more like what we saw earlier, to be honest. It was a very quick game. It's a big mistake that's got punished hard from Spot Up. Just that execute was so messy to lose so many people in a fight like that. And the retake was just constantly on the back foot. Money's still good. It's not the end of the world. And even then, they go into halftime at least even on score. At worst, if Dignitas win these final 4 rounds of this half. It's going to be a nice split coming in onto the A site. Lockdown would be great in Tree if they can get Rustun into that position. Just cleared some of these angles. Smart play from Spot Up, just making sure that they dot their I's and cross their T's. But there's a lot of people from Dignitas waiting for them here.
This is a 4-man stack. They are ready for this A site take. Hunter's Fury utilized, although he does eventually hit a tag. It still gives information at least that there are going to be players around this angle. Dart also utilized, but even still, out of all of the damage that was done with all the players here, it is Spot Up to actually get the opener. We're going to see them also expend the lockdown, but MAKKA has been able to find a couple, and the rotation coming in.
One enemy remaining.
Mostly this time,
30 seconds
MAKKA
left.
has gone ham in this round. It's left all onto one. Rustun to try and take a 1v3, and although he expects Oderus to be there, he's not quite quick enough on the trigger. Dignitas, they win the round with a 4-man stack, but it's maybe not as clean as I would have liked. I guess I'm sort of maybe just picking at it a little bit, but I feel like they could have got that much cleaner.
I think picking at it at this stage is legitimate, really. Like, I think both these teams against bigger lineups, these teams that you expect to go a little bit further in the tournament, will punish the mistakes that both these teams are making non-stop. And so we are seeing awkward pauses and positions from both sides. Dignitas, Oderus wanted to face a bit more on V, but it's going to be a very fast execute on the side of Spot Up. Nice play from Kanpeki. You'll love to see this kind of aggressive play, but there's always a bit of a caveat. A gun at least in their hand, a bucky in the hands of Figment is going to be the one planting. It's just a case whether Dignitas use some of these ultimates, whether they feel it's worthwhile going into this eco execute that Spot Up have put together. And the answer is yes.
Yeah, the thing that I was going to say is their retakes haven't been great so far, so I think it's important they just make sure they get this round through, and dephh, he's going to make sure of it. Triple spray down. It will be a 4th on the board for Dignitas, but yeah, I like that, because realistically, they lost a round earlier to what was just a single Bladestorm invested into the round from Spot Up, and other than that, they had nothing, and they weren't able to retake, so just make sure you get it done at this point.
Well, I mean, look at dephh. He just used his ultimate, Lockdown. He's 4-7 to having another one. Like, that is very good from dephh. Like, that's the kind of play you want to see. The question mark is Oderus using Bladestorm when there's only one player left and you're in, what, a 3v1, 4v1? That's certainly a big question mark. And it might be important. We might not see that ultimate again in this half, at least. And the Empress is available for Sam. he's going to be playing a bit more aggressively onto mid, holding it within the smoke. And SpotUp's play is starting to become a bit one-dimensional. It's looking to be another A hit again. They do have a Rolling Thunder. They do have a Hunter's Fury, trying to find ways to line it up. But Dignitas starting to warm up to the occasion. Their retake's starting to look a little bit more crisp. Individual play is starting to address itself and become better. The Dignitas coming back into this game.
The only thing I will say is they've now lost an A-site take to a 4-man stack, and then they lost that one because they only had pistols. I'm not really worried for them just yet. I think that their A-site has been pretty good, and again, they're going to start things off with the opener. MAKKA already managing to move from the shadows into the back of the site, and it's the same take once again. So you sort of said that the retakes have started to become a little bit more crisp, Brian. Well, they're going to have to give it another go. Same start as last time, as dephh does manage to get the opener. He's given this back into a 4v4. In fact, another one for dephh, even while completely blind. It's looking like he's trying to just carry his team through. A third, in fact. As they now start to slip away without dephh on the board, it seems like everything just goes wrong with Dignitas, and it's left all onto Oderus. A 1 versus 1 situation. He's going to smoke onto the spike, try and bait in his opponent for a peek, but his opponent is not peeking whatsoever, just waiting in the corner. Eventually will come round, and he knows at this point, he knows that Oderus isn't defusing, trying again to bait him in, but it's done. It's over. Figment just plays with his opponent, doesn't even have to do anything to win the round. And as mentioned, it seems like it's death or nothing when it comes to
last
these
round
retakes.
in the hash.
And he has another lockdown good to go. Great play from him. Double operator,
Every 2
why not
rounds.
at this point? And man, SpotUp, like they having some okay, but he's just sort of up and down within a round. Just, oh, good, that's good. Oh, but that's bad. It's not like they used 3 ultimates, and one was a Rolling Thunder that caught nobody, and then they used to run the shadows to get onto the site. It's over dedication in some cases, and could have very easily not gone the way that they were hoping for. Now they just have that Blade Storm. Kanpeki might use it straight away as he only has a Bulldog. That's the sound of it. dephh sitting back a little bit further with this operator. And honestly, Rustun should be glad that that recon bot showed him up there, because he was walking into death.
Well, they've moved away from their gamble stack on the A site and sent the majority over to B, but let's be real, SpotUp haven't challenged B much at all. There was some pressure in that direction in some of the earlier rounds when they had some weaker weaponry, but other than that, it's mainly been pressure put towards this A site. This time, though, Oderus is going to start things off with the opening pick off the back of the operator. It's a much more passive stance this time from the SpotUp side.
This is really separating the men from the boys, so to speak, when it comes to how they play these slow defaults. Europe, it's aplenty, but they separated some of the more seasoned teams from the gun-ho, huggy style. Sam pulls out the Empress, and he's good for 2 at least. Get out there, make sure he's not giving up. He can only get that as Bunny sprays him down with a Bulldog. Control wasn't ideal for him to take that fight. It's 2 versus 4, and the spike can't even get planted as dephh is just watching from that angle. Figment wanted to play aggressive. 7-5. You would still decent for SpotUp, but you would still have wanted to see them get a little bit more. Certainly with how Dignitas started off that round.
Yeah, I think when you're 6-1 up, if you only get 1 round for the rest of the half, you're not going to be too happy with it. But at the same time, it was a decent half for them, to say the least. Like, doing that well on the attacking side sets them up wonderfully going into the defense. And I think the main problem was that for Dig, like, again, in retakes on that A side, they really, really struggled. In fact, in most cases, I think you're going to see just almost dephh getting, like, highlight frags to try and save them in those situations, even when it's just pistols. And that's not really good enough. Like, he's normally in that sort of situation as one of the more supportive agents, like a player who's looking to try and lock down the sites. You need some of your stars to arise here, especially going into the attacking side. That's where a lot of the time, it's only really the ultimate that we talk about being like heavily useful, unless you have those sort of perfect lineups to move some people out of spot with the Nanostorm.
I'm worried about Kanpeki here. He might assume that this whole area of the map is clear because the recon bolt doesn't actually catch the position of Oderus. So he's just going to wait there, keep an eye on that flank. They just miss each other. The timing's not good, but all of the space in mid that you see in Super just take. The turret hasn't really shown up too much, but it's brought the attention to spot up towards that direction. And it's taken him away from the A site. There's only 2 people looking here. You might not be expecting Oderus to close this distance. He might not be expecting the Jett to be right around this corner, but the spray's going to give it away. Nice shot with a frenzy. He's made his way onto the site. And this is very pleasant play from the Sova. Figment just buying his time. Going to kill anybody that goes to try and shut this door.
That's the plan. Stop the shutter. He's got to be careful though as dephh just goes swinging. Times it perfectly with the footsteps of his teammate. And they've reclaimed the area around the garden. This makes a retake really, really rough. And in fact, it's Bunny who goes hopping round the corner. He doesn't expect Oderus to be in the same spot. And the trades still favor the attacker side quite heavily. Still going to try and clear these remaining players out. And Dignitas have in fact just given up that remaining ground. Just fallen back to the side, playing all the time. We need to hold on in this situation. And they will do just that. A pistol round conversion. I really like the re-aggression from them as well. And they're up to 6.
If Bunny had looked to his left after getting that frag as he was hopping through to tree, might have been able to get a little bit more. He's 5 and 11. I believe it was the Overwatch. It was the one that you were expecting. I pulled my microphone away because I was trying to make a point. But Dignitas are also trying to prove a point. If they win this, they go even on score. 6-1 to 7-0. Spot Up are starting to lose a little bit, I suppose, of confidence that they've had in this tournament. Whoever loses this series is out as well. This is a big deal for both teams. A big loss for either.
Spot Up obviously trying to prove that maybe they're worth the signing. Okay! Rustun's just found 2 with Sheriff. Dignitas, this was meant to be a round you're just cleaning up, but the pistols have done so much. Even a kill coming off the back of an aftershot. That's something you don't see too often. And now dephh, I mentioned him having to be a hero in some of these retakes. He has the spike. Now he's going to retrieve all of his utility. It will take a lot longer. We're playing on the old patch, so it's not quite as quick to get his turret and his alarm bot back. But at least in the after-plant situation, he might be able to have them just to try and help him out. The problem is, surviving to the back of this boathouse is going to be nigh on impossible. As long as Spot Up just play this as a team, play this as a group, he should have absolutely no chance, especially already tagged down relatively low. Well, they're just going to close him in. A great round from Spot Up. We mentioned maybe they're falling a little bit flat, but the fact is, they were just getting ready for round number 2 of the second half.
In their game against Envy, they lost eco after eco against them. It's nice to see them on the other end of this. Keeps it well within their grasp. The economy is good for them, awful for Dignitas, who so far haven't been able to reproduce some of the form that they had against Sentinels. Bear in mind, though, that this map wasn't played in that series. Haven was, and that is a map that we will be going to next, so Dignitas aren't going to be too flustered if we do see them lose on Ascent. But they are only 2 rounds behind. It's very much within their grasp. And Spot Up have had some really awful defending halves. 2 and 10, it's always that number against Space Station Gaming. And that was the game that made sure that they got into the close qualifiers. They won the other maps. Ascent would be a good one for them as they're going to be hit hard. Dignitas trying to break on through. Rustun has a nice little nano swarm. It can get the kill onto his Killjoy counterpart. But it's a 4 versus 3. The spike is going to get planted. And this is going to be a really difficult retake for Spot Up, even with their gun advantage.
Yeah, it's gun advantage, but it's not man advantage. Dignitas have the majority of the personnel. At least they did. Spam through, and they've spotted out another one. The aftershock will clear the back angle. He should be dead. I don't know how on earth Oderus is still standing, but they're going to have to take the time to try and push back into the site, and they are quickly cleaning things up. Unless Sam can pull off a literal miracle and deny this defusal, it is going to be another round coming straight back up for Spot Up. Maybe a little bit closer than they would have liked. The fact is, they're still up to 9 and still leading their way in this map.
And this is the team that I just wish we saw a little bit more of, because the games that we've had on Spot Up, at least the actual reel of games, they played against Sentinels, they lost a very quick 2-0. They played up against Envy, as we saw today, very quick 2-0. going into this, I was very negatively against Spot Up showing us the reasons, I suppose, that they got this far. But they've chosen the best time to do it against a team that should be brimming with confidence after their showing against Sentinels that we just saw. But it's not really to be. And this lead is starting to pull away for Spot Up. There is an aggressive lockdown on the side of dephh. He's on the A site. Oderus wants to put some pressure A and might rotate and reset in that direction. But Spot Up confidently with a good amount of map control. And Kanpeki's happy to try and face him on that angle.
Well, a crunch round for sure. Dig not wanting to let this one slip too far away, and well, that's a fair bit of information gathered. You don't see that as often anymore, like just pure information ultimates when it comes to the From the Shadows, but that's what they've done. They've spotted the amount of players there. They may have even spotted the spike. At the same time, it hasn't pulled a rotation. The attackers are still looking to head in that direction.
Digger's starting to constrict a little bit more towards A, and Bunny's moving away. Having him here would be so key. The one flash, his fault line's ready to go. His aftershocks have been pretty clinical so far. And Spot Up starting to outthink themselves a little bit here. They have no information it's going to be
30
B.
seconds
It's just
left.
the fact, really, at this point, that Rustun's playing off the corridor completely. This execute's going to be pretty impactful for Dignitas. It's a really good paranoia. Nice pick from Kanpeki to at least get one. Rotation should come in shortly after this plan.
Spike planted.
And I like Tucker's positioning here because he knows that dephh is there. The alarm bot has been placed. He knows exactly where it is. He can work around it.
Blinding. It's almost like they're trying to bait him into a bit of a peek. Even still, though, that's not a bad start. Actually, deph's going to get a kill off the back of the Nano Swarm. They've evened things back up. An aggressive position, though, from Super, and there's no trade available. The lockdown has gone down. They need to get rid of it before they can do anything, but they will. And now it's left all onto one man, and Oderus can't do anything here. A good retake from Spot Up. A nice attempt again from dephh, who really has been one of the sort of saving graces of this Dignitas side. The problem is we've got players missing, like Super, who was fantastic in their game earlier. Currently right at the bottom of the board. Maybe Sam not quite having the impact we'd like, but even still, these close rounds every single time have gone the way of Spot Up. And that's the thing, if you look at the frag distribution, it almost looks like Dignitas would be in the lead.
And Spot Up sitting pretty right now. The money is not good for Dignitas. But their plays become very one-dimensional, hitting this A site regular occasions. And they try and put a bit more pressure mid than we're used to, and I think with every round that goes on, we're starting to see the defenders brim in with a bit more confidence. They have big ultimates to rely on, just in case things start to go a bit awry. Rustun's position given up, but at least he has the help of the Omen, who has also flashed a lot of utility, forcing them out in this corner, and Sam is able to get one at least. Lockdown is still available to go, but no, Rustun goes down to MAKKA. This is an awkward map now for Spot Up, as they're losing a couple of people, but Kanpeki, at least with the operator, has been so much more impactful than we've seen in this tournament, but they don't check this corner. Sam is able to get two. This is getting really messy, Tom.
Here.
And it seems like within that mess, Dignitas have started to thrive. An operator on a retake, definitely not ideal, and it seems like they're just looking for a path out of this round. Dignitas have managed to steal one with what was a pretty weak investment. We saw Stingers, we saw Sheriffs as well. Spot Up are going to be absolutely kicking themselves, because this might just be the way back into the map for Dignitas. The problem is they now need to start stringing a few rounds together, and that's been something that Spot Up have done a pretty decent job of denying.
I guess more the key thing for Spot Up is that they didn't dedicate any ultimates. They were happy to let it go. Granted, in some cases, if you're Rustun, you weren't able to even if you wanted, because you just go down pretty much instantly from digs. Very key pressure, nice utility. Was very frugal in cases that we've seen so far, but the right flashes, the right ways of pushing out. Sam, you mentioned he was quiet. He was the tip of the spear when it came to pushing through there. Now we're going to see something a little bit different. A very aggressive, probably a bit of a rush when it comes to hitting this site very quickly. But I do think that pick is... Oh, Kanpeki's in an awful spot here. He's flashed out completely, but he's not giving away his positioning. They've ignored him, and he's good for one. He can get a couple at least. But Dignitas, yet again, doing some damage for spot up. Before we get into this post-plant position, both these teams have been beaten and bloody before they even get to play around this fight.
Here.
This needs to be one of those big rounds. The problem is both players already tagged and a hell of a lot of utility. That's always the problem with these faster takes, is your opponents don't use a lot of their grenades. They don't use any of their abilities available to them. They have them all for this retake. In fact, they even have rolling thunder if they need it, but I don't think they're going to waste it. They don't need it. It's left all onto one. It's Super in the back, just sitting in the boathouse, trying to hold off versus multiple players. The first kill's clean, the second, not quite. As it will be the defusal coming in for spot up. Again, a few mistakes coming in for Dignitas. A corner not checked. Only gave away one kill, to be fair, but nonetheless, one kill that could have even made it a 3v3 in that sort of after plant situation. So I think they're going to be kicking themselves for that one.
We have seen some really good Killjoy play today. Both of them top fragging on either side. Obviously, Bjorn that we saw from BBG. Hoping to see more. No doubt there's going to be some others as well on Nerd Street Gamers 2 if you want to check out the other game going on at the moment. But because Spot Up lost so fast, it was a speed run against Envy. Does mean that we're a bit further ahead in our schedule. And if you want to check out what's going on with Slimy Bugmen and Renegades, it's going to be losing there. It's been much better from Spot Up. It's a nice pick on Sam. The operator is still in place. I think this is a big round, and that's a big kill. Rustun can at least bring it to a neat 3 versus 3, but it means that these fights are so clinical now. The From the Shadows used to make sure that the Omen can get onto site at least, and it allows Dignitas to play a bit more in your face to Spot Up, but Oderus almost getting caught out there.
Look at dephh. He could be the clinical man. He's managed to flank all the way round and picked off Tucker, and now the remaining defenders are stuck because they either have to look to try and kill him off or take the site and force him to push them. But they would need to kill both of these players very quickly indeed. And they found first. Oderus actually gets dinged up, and they've killed them both. Now dephh has to go running. He needs to get into the site because otherwise this is just going to be diffused, and I don't think there's anything he can do about it. Even going to expend the ultimate to shut him down. An impressive retake from the remaining 2 players. All dephh really needed was for his teammates to stay alive just a little bit longer, but unfortunately it's not going to happen this time.
Match point for Spot Up. Pretty much got 12 rounds alone in their series against Envy. It was so one-sided. It was a look of a team where you go, yeah, this is not a team that you consider to go very far in this tournament. Did well to get here as a relatively new team that's been put together. But they could upset Dignitas here. Dignitas looked so good against Sentinels, but losing here 13-7 potentially, that's got to be a big knock to the confidence. Even more so if you go out to Spot Up, because this isn't an elimination match. A lot of pressure on these big ultimates. Empress available for Sam. We also have MAKKA with the Hunter's Fury. They need to find impact.
Figment. It's going to be forced off the angle at least. Gives a little bit of extra map control, but doesn't look like it's something that Dignitas really planned to utilize. The spike currently sat deep within B main. There is only one man there to defend it, at least for now. However, Spot Up, they're just patiently waiting. It's looking like they're going to attempt to split B. And now, last time that actually worked relatively well. You can see the ultimate set up from dephh, and there isn't really anything they can do on the other side to deny it, unless they want to put their own lockdown, which is actually what they might plan to do. They do have that ability available to them if they want to try to spend it. Bunny, however, is going to find 2 kills before he actually exits the round. And now Rustun has done it too. It's left all onto Super. He's stuck in between a literal rock and a hard place, and he won't get locked down. He'll be shut down. It's Spot Up to take the first map.